Hello, this Warhawk Beyond 2040, and I have come to the conclusion that there are at least 32 different flavours of ice cream, and that there are too many people afraid to answer the big question. Hi guys, welcome to another crazy yet awesome theory, and I feel that it's only fitting that this series, which is all about different theories and events on certain heroes and TV shows, that we do a video dedicated to the master of theories and conspiracies, and that's none other than the Question himself. Now, the Question I've always found to be a very interesting character because, just like Batman and Green Arrow, the Question has no superpowers, and he's not what you call a fighter like those two guys. He uses his brains and his wits to get to the truth and to get the job done. And he's a bit eccentric. He's very obsessed with his work to the point of madness, but I've always felt that the Question, the Vic Sage version of the Question that is, there is a method to his madness. And that's what I've always found to be very intriguing about him. Like, for example, in the JLU animated series, Justice League Unlimited, I really enjoyed all the episodes that he appeared in. I really enjoyed the big role that he played in the Cadmus story arc, and just the scenes he had with Superman, especially in the Question of Authority episode. All his scenes are heavy dialogue driven, they get you thinking. He's a little bit crazy, but that's what I think makes him so cool. And today's video is basically going to be about how I would bring the Question into the Arrowverse and how we can get to that point. Now, it's been long overdue for the Question to appear in the Arrowverse. Quite frankly, I feel the Question should have appeared a long time ago, but for whatever reason or unknown reason, the Question has yet to appear in the Arrowverse. And especially with the Arrow coming to an end after 10 episodes, there's going to be another show gone, so I think the best way you could introduce the Question is not necessarily introduce him in his own show, but I think maybe introduce him in another show before you give the character their own show. I think you could have the Question be some sort of secret informants for the heroes to go to for cases that they can't solve or strange conspiracies they don't quite understand. So I think having the Question already established in the Arrowverse as someone to go to for information regarding cases that not everybody may be able to solve or figure out. So I feel, for the purpose of bringing the question into the Arrowverse, I feel the question should be not the Fixed Age version, but the Renee Montoya version of the question. Now, for many of you hardcore geeks out there know, Renee Montoya is the current question in the comic books. She's already established as the question, and she's no longer part of the police force, but she still works with the police force on certain cases that they may not be able to handle. So for the purposes of bringing the Renee Montoya version of the question into the Arrowverse, you could have that the original question, Vic Sage, is long dead after dying of cancer, but before he died, he trained Renee Montoya to be his successor. So Renee Montoya is operating in Gotham City, and she carries on the legacy of the original question and takes on all his old cases as well as new ones. So I think the best way you could bring the Renee Montoya version of the question into the Arrowverse is introduce her into the new Batwoman TV show. Now, to a lot of hardcore fans, Renee Montoya and Kat Kane have a relationship in the comic books. I think at the moment they may have broken up or they may be back together, but the best way you could have Renee Montoya introduced into Batwoman is maybe Batwoman could go to Renee Montoya for help. Maybe she's like some sort of mystery informant, or she's recommended to Kat Kane, so she goes to meet her, and that's how the relationship between those two is established. And also, what you'd have for the Renee Montoya version of the question is introduce her in a small cameo role, have one scene, maybe two scenes, and then slowly build her up in Batwoman's show, so when the time is right, Renee Montoya could have her own show, but still crossing over with Batwoman's show from time to time, maybe for like a two-part special or a one-off special, or maybe like in a massive crossover event. But I think that would be the best way to introduce the question into the Arrowverse, is have her appear in Batwoman, because they've been lovers in the comic books, so it just makes perfect sense. So that's pretty much my thoughts on how I would bring the question into the Arrowverse. Is this how you would do it, or is there a different way you would bring the question into the Arrowverse? Let me know what your thoughts and comments are down below, and remember everybody, everything leads to a bigger question. There are those out there who are too afraid to answer those questions. I will see you next time, and remember everybody, the truth is out there.